KvK of the year is finally over, and sadly 1606 and 2377 were not on the winning side. Let's break down why this was the case and review this KvK as a whole. Welcome back to another Rise of Kingdoms video. It has been a while since my last one, and please do excuse me. It's been an intense few weeks with KvK. Since the moment that 1960 jumped back into Zone 5, it's been almost non-stop, and then the post-KvK admin, organisation, and everything else that goes on behind the scenes. If you do enjoy the content, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and also like the video, and also join the Discord if you haven't already. The link will be in the description. Head on over. We've got over 100 members now, so we're slowly growing. Thank you to everyone that has subscribed, and also that has joined the Discord. So on the screen right now, you can see an image of what Zone 6 looked like going into Kingsland. The amount of forts that were placed is just crazy. We literally had fort walls going all the way from Zone 5 across to Zone 6, touching Kingsland. I lost count of how many forts were dropped, but it was well over 100. Zone 6, I'm not going to cover in too much detail because in all honesty, not that much really happened and not that much changed significantly regarding territory. The main things to note were 606 was able to get the mountain jump on the left side, burning past 2941 just in time before Kingsland opened. And on the right side, 2377 were able to hold a fairly high wall jump into Kingsland versus 1960. Going into Kingsland, it was pretty balanced overall. 93 had a higher wall jump than 1606, 2975, 1365 on the left zone. 2377 had a higher wall jump than G3 and 1960 in the right zone. So it balanced out. And we can start with the pass swarms. When capturing the pass, to my delight, 2377 were first, 1606 were second. Having planned both of those pass swarms and planned all the previous pass swarms before that, we had successfully been first in all of them. Versus 93, 1960, our preparation was on point, our planning for the pass swarm was on point. So we captured the pass first, which gave us a slight head start. Really nothing too major. But on the left side of the map, 1606's goal was to get as many of their cities random teleported as possible into Kingsland as fast as possible. And when I say Kingsland, I mean Orleans. Kingsland's just easier to refer to. So 1606 got every city in the kingdom random ported in. Our building cities ported into Kingsland as well. And at that point, we then let 1365 take the pass. Because as we know, Orleans only has 2 passes for each side into Kingsland. With 6 camps, that means one camp is always going to be lagging behind the other. But we were able to get 365 in very quickly. And due to our random teleporting, we were also able to fill our higher flags, so the flag jumps, faster than 93 were able to fill theirs, because they didn't random, they walked into Kingsland, as far as I know. So when we got our flags built, we started really quickly. And we were able to take down 1 or 2 93 flags. And as you can see from the time lapse, we had a really good start. 1606, 2975 were able to build over the river. I think it was maybe 3, 4, 5 flags in total. Now, holding them is a completely different story. The territory for holding a flag over the river while your enemy has full activity is almost impossible. Despite our field, we weren't able to hold those flags, and that's completely fine. We weren't expected to hold those flags. The fact we were even able to get those flags built was a win. It showed that our planning, our execution was fine, was on point. So really, the start of Kingsland, we were very optimistic. We were like, okay, great start, let's keep the momentum going. Now, naturally, 93 killed those few flags, and the fight was predominantly focused around the river. But as you can see from the time lapse, G3 were able to get to the Zig, or the Guildhall, alongside 93, right before we were able to jump the river. So they were able to secure that right hand side next to the Guildhall. Meanwhile, 2377, despite building to the right of the Guildhall, were not able to focus on that area, and 365 were kinda trapped. The influence was only via field, so we needed to get them into the fight also. So 2377 deleted some flags and they let 365 build to the right of the Zig. And as you can see, when this happened, 365 were able to go on the offensive. They were able to burn back G3 by a few flags, but most importantly, they were able to get over the river to be able to go right and disrupt 1960. And every time they were able to do that, 2377 were able to burn 1960 back. And due to the wall jump that 2377 secured, they were in a pretty good position versus 1960. And for at least, I'd say 12, maybe a bit longer hours, our side was on top. We were able to hold 93. We were even burning 93's flags. G3 were getting burned by 365. 960 were also getting burned by 2377. But there came a point when downtime started hitting, which really cost our side. For whatever reason, 2377 activity started to drop a bit, and 1960, being the kingdom they are and having the activity they have, capitalized on it. And you can see flag by flag, 2377 slowly getting pushed back. And then after that had started happening, you can also see that 365 also hit a downtime. And they subsequently were also getting pushed by G3 at that time. And that was huge. And people underestimate the influence of G3 in this Kingsland. To be able to push back 365, and I know 365 had been fighting ever since Zone 5, so their players were much more tired, likely more drained. But to be able to keep 365 away from 1960 gave 1960 the space they needed to 1v1 2377. And when 1960 had the momentum, the fight almost went a similar way to how Zone 5 went. 2377 started better. When they had everyone online, they could outplay 1960. I know 365 were needed to come over to help 2377, but regardless, 2377 were holding their ground fairly well until the downtime hit. 1960 capitalized, G3 then started pushing 365 back. And at this point, on the left side, you can see that there's still a lock in the river. 93 above, 606, 2975 below. There was really not much change there, a few flags burned here and there. The river meant that 93, 606, 2975, no one really made any significant progress for, I'd say honestly, like about half a day. 93 went into their supposed downtime, but let me tell you, fighting 93, that downtime does not feel like a downtime. I know they have less players on, and I guess when you compare it to their uptime, it's significantly less active, but it's still, the minimum base rate of activity is still high enough to be able to defend, which is all they needed to do. Because their downtime was also, I wouldn't say a 606 downtime, but it was a time when 606 had a good number on, but far from everyone on. So we were very reliant on 2975 also to provide the numbers to match 93 and to try and get burns on 93 flags. But for the most part, 93 defended well, and it was a stalemate. Every time we'd go over the river, maybe we could get a burn. 93 wouldn't really come over the river for a good portion of their downtime, but it didn't really go much further than that. I think we only burnt one flag in the whole period of 93's downtime. But there came a moment when we realized that 365's territory had to be replaced by ours, and as you can see in the time lapse, they started deleting flags so we could expand further right. Now this was a strategic choice because 365 had used so many flags getting to that point, building forward, having to then back flag to reduce the territory gain from G3, so we had to replace their territory with ours. This then allowed 365 to focus entirely on G3, and they did stall them, but you can see that the momentum of G3 continued. and 365 weren't able to hold them back. At the same time, 93's uptime came back. And when this uptime hit, you can see 93 started to build over the river. They were able to burn flags. They launched, I think at one point it was at least 10 rallies on all of our touching flags. And because their field was more than ours, we weren't able to defend them. And this really was a turning point in the KvK. We knew that river battle was going to be difficult, but at the exact moment that 93 built over the river and were able to burn us over the river, if I remember correctly, there were 134 players online combined across 1606 and 2975. And of that number, 120 were on from 606. Now, from a leader's perspective, having 120 of your alliance online at one point, out of 145, 150-ish active players, it's really not bad. And in any 1v1, okay, barring maybe 93, 1960, having 120 of your players online is enough to be able to hold your territory, at least. Maybe you need a few more to push, but to hold, that should be good enough. But sadly, our total numbers combined as a camp were not even close to what 93 had on the field. 93's two alliances were just more active at that time. They timed their push extremely well, and we couldn't hold them back. And there are some people that said 606 should have done more. 606 were fresher than 93. They should have been able to hold 93. And while everyone's opinion is absolutely fair, in Orleans, when you do not have the field, holding flags up is incredibly difficult. Like, there were times we were hard stuffing from big accounts, so T5s were going into the flag. But due to the field presence, it was still incredibly difficult to hold these flags up. And I have to give respect to 93. They timed their push incredibly well. They knew they had to capitalize on a time when our total camp numbers were not as high. And then the rest is history. You can see at this point, when we saw the right side being burnt, we saw the 1365 being burnt. Even if 606 and 2975 were able to burn 93, would that have made a difference in the overall KvK? In hindsight, I'm going to say no. Of course, thank you to our allies, to our campmate, 365, 2377, and 2975. But the better team did win, and there is no discredit that should go to them. So what's next for 1606? Well, I've seen a few memes going around talking about our migration being good. And I'm not sorry, but our migration is looking very, very promising for next off-season. Of course, as you may have known, Chadsky is moving over. Some incredible players lined up to join the kingdom and to become part of our community. And it goes to show that some of the best players in the game, at the end of the day, winning or losing comes second. Of course, everyone wants to win, but you want to win next to people you actually care about. And for me, that's what makes 1606 incredible. The community is stronger than ever, and I'm incredibly grateful to lead the kingdom. So yeah, that is pretty much a review of what went down in KvK. Maybe different perspective to what you've heard from the other sides, and I hope everyone that played in it got to enjoy the KvK. Everyone that watched it enjoyed watching it. It was almost 2 weeks of fighting since Pass 5 opened, or Pass 4 opened, so plenty of action and an insane number of records broken in this KvK. My videos moving forward, I'm going to be talking about my personal performance in this KvK, primarily focusing on the 2377 account, as in 1606 there are a few that I play, so it's a bit of a distorted view, but I can still talk about those accounts that I did jump on. We can also take a look at all of the records that are broken in this KvK, because some of the figures are just ridiculous. Truly, truly ridiculous from some of the best players in the game. And then also, we can take a greater look at Subotai. I have him now on both accounts in 2377 and in 1606. Yeah, we can finally start nerding out again now that KvK is over. If you are interested in joining 1606, the migration link is down below. We are really focusing on quality players that fit our community and our culture. That is a priority for us, and we're not trying to fill 155 members for the sake of having 155 members. We really want to make sure, even if we have less, as long as the quality is there, they're a cultural fit, then that's most important to us. To everyone in 1606 and 2377, thank you so much. It was a pleasure to fight alongside you. If you did enjoy the content, please do smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, join the Discord so we can chat outside of the videos. But yeah, hope you enjoyed. Sorry for rambling on. Much love. Catch you all next time.